How was your guys' late start today? Let's go. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. Who here likes video games in general, like Fortnite, Minecraft, anything? Boo. NBA 2K? I got you. All right, here's another question. Who here plays Fortnite? Make some noise. There you go. All right, so today we're gonna be basically doing like kind of like a Q&A. Like we're gonna have like a few questions that none of our influencers have seen, and I'm just gonna be asking them some certain questions. That's my bad. So let's get into this. All right, so for the first question, we have, when was the time you really felt connected to your faith? What led to that? Zoe, you're up first.
I would say I think the time I felt most connected is definitely at camp. I think it's just super cool being surrounded by like literally hundreds of other kids that have the same values and beliefs that you do. They have amazing speakers all the time and amazing leaders that will help encourage and push you. So I think always at camp and coming off, that was called a camp high, but that's when I definitely feel most connected.
Oh, thanks. Pass the mic on. I think a time whenever I felt most connected to my faith personally was probably after COVID kind of like went away. Because I mean, guys, raise a hands here. How many of you guys like struggled like day-to-day life during COVID? I mean, like, yeah, COVID was awful. I mean, I know some of you got to sleep in and it was like, okay, show up like on WebEx with pajamas. We all did that, Jersey especially, I can see. So it was just awful. COVID was just not a good time. And I think all of us came to appreciate like normal lives. I think all of us came to appreciate normal lives after COVID kind of went away. And so I would say, just through like praying and perseverance, I would say that by the time COVID was finished, that's whenever I felt most grounded in myself and like knowing like, hey, Jesus is the way, Jesus is life. And even though bad stuff, like Jersey was saying, happened during COVID, there's still a light at the end of the tunnel. So I would say that.
For me personally, it would probably be small groups. I started here, my first year was like Vox, and then we switched over to Rocky Students, but in that time, it was really nice to be able to connect with all the leaders here, and I've made some great friends throughout this. They've helped me go deeper into my faith and helped me grow with everybody here. Like even you guys as newer students to this, it still is an amazing thing for us to go through, to have leaders and friends for us to support us. So
Exactly, like what Grady was saying, like I have been going here for like less than a year already. I think I started in March, and ever since I started, just like I've had so much support here. With meeting Carly, Grady, everyone, I had just so many support, so much friends. Like it's crazy. Like I can't describe like the feeling like just being invited to like a family that I didn't have before this. So I feel like now is like the time like I really feel connected to my faith. And yeah. And so on to our second question. How do you balance your personal beliefs with the pressure from friends or society?
Man, I would just say I remind myself of like the values of faith and why it's important to me, why I believe it. And then when school or my friends try, peer pressure and stuff like that comes around, then I already have grounded a foundation of like, no, this is what I believe, this is what God says about me, this is what, I need to do, this is what I believe about myself and stuff like that. So I think it's a lot of kind of the behind the scenes, if you will, of just kind of, spending time with God and the Bible and stuff like that so that I can build a strong foundation for myself. So when stuff like that comes, it's a lot easier for me to balance. Of course, it's still difficult. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, it's a lot easier once you have that foundation.
So Zoe, you pretty much took some of the words like right out of my mouth, and I'm sure probably for Grady too, yeah. But a note that I totally didn't peek at the questions beforehand, but a note that I had on here was love the sinner, hate the sin, right? So we've all had like that experience where there's a friend where maybe we don't agree with something that they're talking about, but you still want to love on them as a person, right? And it's like finding that hard balance between like staying true to your beliefs, what you believe in, and what you want to stand for, like Zoe was saying, like sticking true to your identity in God, which is your true identity. And also knowing like, hey, I really want to love on this person. I want to invite them to youth group. I want to invite them to church, whatever it might be. I still want to hang out with them. So just finding, I think, a healthy balance between, as you pretty much took the words right out of my mouth, the behind the scenes, as she was saying, and the whole concept of like society too, as Zoe was also saying. Another note that I put down was like society is temporary relief, right? So anything that you get from society, like morals, beliefs, it's temporary relief from everlasting pain, right? Whereas God is everlasting relief from temporary pain. So you just take polar opposites and flip them. So yeah.
I don't know, like Zoe was saying, it's very difficult to balance your social life with your belief life, but I've learned that works best for me is finding friends to surround yourself with, which is really huge because Wednesday nights I have a bunch of friends here that help support me and grow with me, which then when I go to school and stuff also can help and support me there, knowing that I'm not just an outcast, like I'm not the only Christian person at school. I know there's plenty others with me and that'll stand with me when asked, so it helps balance out that I'm not just an outcast and I can be who I really want to be and not some split personality.
Yeah, I really agree with like all of what you guys have said because I remember even back whenever I was in middle school, I would have friends that like kind of like led me down the wrong path. Like they would cuss, they would do like bad stuff that like I know I'm not supposed to do now and like it shouldn't. And so like a Bible verse that really stuck out to me was trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And so like that like stuck out to me because like I used to like follow like my own understanding. Like I used to follow my head. I used to follow my friends. I would follow these people because it's what was trendy or it was what was popular. And now I mainly like focus more into the Bible, but I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything. I'm just saying that like the more like you start building your faith, the more you will start leaning into the world more or the Bible more instead of the world. But on to our third question. What does faith mean to you guys personally?
You got that, Grady.
Faith to me really means like it's something I believe in and that I stand strong by. Like I'll be willing to say that I believe in it and it's not just some phony thing that I say. Like I mean it when I say it that I do believe in God and I believe in what he's doing for all of us. It's just something I know I'll follow and I'll stick by for the rest of my life and not veer away from.
Bless you. I think pretty much as Grady was saying, I think faith is just a grounding factor in sort of this split personality world, right? Because I mean, there's things that the world is going to tell you that is just completely untrue. And the world is going to want to make you believe it. But I think whenever you have faith in a higher power bigger than yourself and bigger than what you want in life, then I think it really helps to ground you and to look at life and be like, okay, well, this is the path I want to take, but this is the path that I know will lead to prosperity. So, yeah.
I think for me, just like, once faith becomes your own, it's just so special because you can just like take huge like leaps and grow so much and just trusting something that's greater or bigger than you. And when you know it is true, like God really does love you. He does want the best plan for you. He's always there. So like when you're terrified, alone, stressed, whatever, he's right there and he truly knows how you feel. Once you like come to that understanding, it is a whole game changer. And so for faith, for me, it's just like, it's the core of who I am and just changed the way I live.
Yeah. I feel like faith to me is like, you're not always going to see God. You're not always going to hear him. Because I know for the longest time I never saw God. I always would pray to him, but I would never see him. And so I feel like with faith is believing in something without having like something to prove that it's real. Like I know God is real because I believe in him. I have faith in him. It's not because this person tells me to believe in him. It's not because someone else tells me to believe in him. It's not because I see him. It's because I believe that God is with me all the time, no matter if I see him or if I don't. And then for our fourth question is, what has been difficult this past year, and how have you dealt with it?
Okay. I would say definitely for me, one of the most difficult things I've been dealing with this past year is college recruiting. It's this super exciting thing, and it has a great opportunity, and not everyone gets it. So to even have the chance is such a blessing. With that, though, has been a lot of difficulty and just, you're looking at a lot of, how can I get recruited and what questions, do I need to ask the coach, and how can I tell if he's, maybe not being completely honest with me. So there's just a lot of process, I guess, and everyone's journey is different, which is super cool. But again, it also makes it difficult because no one can really give you the answers. It's all, they can suggest things to you, and so that's something I've been doing to help deal with it, or just to help journey through this, is just asking people that have done it before me, being like, hey, what suggestions do you have? What wisdom can you give me? Have you talked with this coach before? So I guess my difficulty isn't something, necessarily that's like been like caused me a lot of anxiety or anything like that, but it has been something that's definitely difficult. It takes up a lot of like my thinking. A lot of times I've had I couldn't even tell you this week alone how many hours I've spent with my parents talking about it. But yeah, I think the way I'm just coping with it and going through it is just definitely prayer, definitely just trusting God, talking with my parents, talking with those who love me, and knowing that no matter what, at the end of the day, God's got a plan for me, and whatever it is going to be great.
That was beautiful. For me personally, something difficult I think is, and we're going to do another poll here, so I'm going to need to raise a hands. How many of you guys play a sport or an after school activity that you have? Okay. You can put your hands down. So majority of you are doing a sport or some type of after school activity or something else that you've got going on the side of school. And I think for me personally, that makes life so much more complicated, right? Because you're trying to balance doing well in sports, or you're trying to balance, finishing an art project or whatever the case may be, while also focusing on your school, and you don't want to fall behind. And so I think it's just, that's difficult. And I think all of us can, agree with that, in the fact that it's not easy to balance life. It's not easy to balance school with multiple other things on the side. But I think a good way to cope with it is just to pray for clarity. Because there are going to be moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I have 4 tests. I don't know what to do. I've got a game tomorrow, right? And it just all starts to stack up. So I think, for one, taking it one day at a time, super helpful. Don't look at the whole week, focus on the day. And just enjoying the day as well, and just looking for the peace and the panic type moments, and really searching for, just your clarity, so.
Well said. For me, it's been a lot of trying to balance work and a social life. So I'm a farmhand, and it's just me and my boss, so I don't get many social interactions at work. Well, occasionally a hay buyer or something, but it's really hard trying to just manage just on me and work, still trying to get money for college and for things I want to do, but then also trying to go hang out with friends and try to still have a social life beyond just my work. And so I've learned through God, it's not just working every day to get through it, just to get money, but it's also nice to take breaks and maybe not work every weekend, but every other weekend or something. But just trying to find more ways to socialize with friends before I move on, or before something happens between us, but just to enjoy the time I have with the close friends I have now, and so I can make more in the future.
Yeah, that's really good. I agree with all of you guys on that. What's something that has been difficult for me this past year And like these past years, it's just like moving like a lot. Like I've probably moved like 3 or 4 times in the past 5 years, and that takes like a really, really big toll on someone, because imagine just like packing your stuff into U-Haul like one day and just like never going back to that place. Like it can be like pretty depressing at times. And so it's been a pretty big struggle, because like you have to like relearn how to make friends, you have to find new people, find a new community. And so I think this one verse stuck out to me. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord himself is the rock eternal. Isaiah 26:4. I feel like that stuck out to me because before I didn't trust God. Well, I trusted God, but I didn't have God in my life. And whenever I made God like my rock, my foundation, that's whenever I truly started seeing like God working in my life more and more. And now I have my community. Now I'm starting to like improve in my life, and it's really, really great. What's one Bible verse or story that's impacted your life, and why?
Mine is 2 Timothy 1:7, and it says, "For God's not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind." And I've just used that in so many aspects of my life, whether I'm feeling scared about something in my life or something I'm going through, and just repeating that to me, like, hey, God's not giving me a spirit of fear. Like, with God, I have a sound mind, and, like, I'm going to make it through. And then, of course, I know this is a popular verse, but Jeremiah 29:11, that says, like, for I know the plans I have for you. Just because, especially in this season of my life where I'm looking for college and to move away and all this stuff, just reminding myself, hey, God's got a plan for you, and it's gonna be good. Like, the God of the universe has a plan for me. And so I think just reminding myself of those two, impacts my life in a big way.
Well, I think a verse that has sort of touched my soul, I would say, is probably Colossians 3:23. And it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters. And it's kind of like the concept that we talked about of like following God versus the world. And right, how do you balance that, like with your social life, with your friends, with your online social life, right? And so I think it's just important to kind of hold steady and like steadfast and strong in that verse, especially. Not that there's any bad verse in the Bible, trust me. But I think just listening to God's knowledge and focusing on that rather than focusing on anything that the world has to say or what the world says defines you, because the world doesn't define you, only God defines you. So
I'm not like these other two people where they have verses memorized. I'm not that kind of person, but a story that's always stuck out to me was the David and Goliath story. It's for a lot of things in my life, I've felt like I've been the underdog, and I've resonated with that story the most because it's like I'm a younger brother, so it's been a lot of battling with my older brother over things, and I've learned to kind of just pick and choose my battles that I can win and lose, and it's just been a lot of seeing that as like there's an itty-bitty guy versus a giant, and he still wins, but he does it in a rightful manner and just does it the way of following God and not my own plan. So
yeah, that's good. In Matthew 14:29 through 31, it says, "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, and cried out loud, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You have little faith," he said. "Why did you doubt?" That story really sticks out to me because it showed that he had like little faith. He was set to go towards Jesus, but whenever he got distracted by the wind, he started sinking. And that can like match our lives. If you don't have your focus straight on God, and you start focusing on going out or going, like, doing other stuff that's not for the Lord, your focus just gets away from God and you start sinking. And it's a very, like, big struggle that I know that all of us have too, because we do go to games. We have the game this Friday that we're going to go, and Frederick is going to win against Meade. There you go. Sorry for everyone that's in Meade. But it's hard because I have a life too. I want to live my life too. I'm going to the game for sure. I have work. So I remember texting one of my friends, and she's been catching up on me, asking me, have you been reading the Bible? Have you been praying? Have you been doing this? And to be honest, my answer lately has been no, because I've been busy. I can't make time. But one thing that verse like really teaches you is you can always make time. You can always have time. Even if you have to stay up a little later, even if you have to skip a game, you can always make time. You can always read your Bible. You can always pray. And so tonight I actually want to close out with a prayer. So if everyone can have their heads bowed and eyes closed. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for these wonderful group of kids, and I'm so glad that you've brought them here. You guided them here tonight, showing that you are the true God. You are the one and only God. And we may not be perfect at all times, but through you, we will thrive. And I just want to thank you so much, God. Thank you for everyone that showed up tonight. In the name we pray. Amen. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to us.
Okay, hi guys. Can you guys give these guys a round of applause, please?